Good morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jay Song. Everything in today's video is never financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. Everything's just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast. Trading markets carry substantial risks. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance. All right, let's pull up our first one, Deep. Here we're looking at a price map of Deep. And let me take a look at Good Morning Superfood, RLJJJ. Good morning. Alright, what do we got here? I'm looking at what I had previously for this crypto. I'm looking at a flat area for this crypto at 33 cents. Current price is 16 cents. I'm looking at a flat to be a possible top. Here in the past, let's go over a few things for Deep in the past. We had a strong sword cut based on the parabolic here. And of this parabolic, the cut was right here. And we had a target at 22 cents. And when we came into health, based on our foundational areas 1, 2, we had some verifications here. And then we came into health, we shot right past this area, came right up to the sword cut area. The sword cut area is marked on the chart already at 28 to 25 cents in this area right about here. Actually, that should be stretched out. Why is that not stretched out? It should be stretched down just a little bit. But right underneath our target here. So this should actually be covering this range, the range of the candle that breaks it. So it's approximately right there. Okay. Price bounced a little bit at here, got caught under the sword cut, hit the target down here, came up, hit this target, blew past these targets, and now these targets are acting like old supports. This one and this one, which is quite nice. Price bounced on there. The next health that would be possibly revealed on this smaller down move was this area right here. It's a parabolic 1, 2, 3 verification. And here's a smaller sword cut again. So if we come back down and challenge these areas, I'm going to be looking at possible pullbacks towards this area, approximately right there. Okay. Now to denote some of this, since this was all hit, I'm going to just take a screenshot and then we will dive into this smaller section, or we'll draw some things there. And then I'll move on. And I'm going to fade away all these that are hit. We don't need to keep these anymore, as much as we can actually either delete them or just fade them away completely. But I like that. This one's not hit yet, so we're going to leave that on the board at 0.03 cents. Again, price is closer to 16 cents. This swing target is not hit, so we're going to move that off to the side. This swing target is hit, so we can fade that one away. And the other thing I'll do to minimize clutter on the chart is delete the numbers that are hit already. I don't need to keep the numbers anymore. If you want some of the numbers on the older ones, just type in the word Deep on our website and it'll pull up the old charts. And this is just to bring the attention of our eyes to new and fresher places rather than older places. Okay. Alright. We will continue bringing up the flats here. This alert that I have created back in May of 2025, we're going to just continue that. I'm just going to replace that right there and fade that away. Okay. That means if price comes up and hits this area, I'll know that it's time. An alert would be triggered for me. And so we had two targets there actually. Okay, I'm going to mark now the sword cut in its range for this area. I'm going to turn it to the yellow parabolic color. I'm just collecting, the sword cut in its range is about right here. And then after creating that yellow parabolic, what I'm going to do with this area is I'm going to stretch this out. I'm going to, by duplicating the parabolic and trying to wick match. I can only match these two. And initially, let's try to see if I can collect this one. I'm going to just leave it about right there where the wicks match these two. And that's going to be good enough for me. And I'll just leave this range about right there. For right now, that's all I want to do. But I like to put it where the wicks match. The verification for this parabolic is if we duplicate this range and put it on the underside at the highest energy center, starting from left to the highest energy center that we can draw is right there at the curve. And you can see we stop here, here, and here. This is going to be verification for us that we're really looking at the move here. Okay, now let's view this like this, and now we're left with something like this. The next move up is going to be this one along this shape. So this is actually a type of weakness that may be entering this crypto. Okay, based on the foundational area. Now the foundational area is always when we isolate a region, we can say, how are we going up? We need to pay very careful attention to how it's starting. I'm starting something like this. It forms this shape. So we look for balances along that path like this. And when we start building under those territories, that tells us a weakness is happening. We're looking to come down to some of our lower territories. One of the things we look for at the breaks are higher volume moments during that weakness. So in this case, this can be July 29th, which was just yesterday. If we're pulling up this, you can see that we have the volumes coming up to the average, but most of that volume is really low, so that's going to be the spike. So I'm going to say there's effort, there's a push to break us through this area right there on the July 29th. So I like seeing that this move is probably on purpose. We're going to be looking for this to come down. Make sense? All right. Let's draw that a little bit more professionally. I'm going to fade away the ones that I don't really need. It's nice to have them on the board. And I'm going to borrow one more parabolic. We're going to use the one I just created right now. Just to, let's start at the cores, and that's going to have everything I need for this. All right. So now I'm left with something like this, and I'm going to be looking for downward movement. I can give myself a weakness marker by putting a red circle there. All right. So now let's give this a range to see where this is going. 0.1463 to 0.1348. So if I was a betting man, I'm going to bet we're going to 1348 to 1463. Current price is 16. A move that should be just a few percentage. Conservatively, 11%. And to the low side, we're getting up from here, we're about 20% down. So somewhere there. And that's where we would probably be looking to get a bounce. Since we already have this formation here, coming up, coming down, I'm going to draw that angle. Coming in. Let's do that. And that's going to give me an angle about here. And let's duplicate that up and try to wick match as many of those wicks, and I got a range about right there. So the next health for me would be either a bounce in this region or on top of that region and above here. Okay. All right. From here, we may have a chance to go up. Let's now look at some RSI. We're going to look at the momentum. We were looking at using a lot of RSI on Sunday, and then I'm going to do some of the more bigger ones. We'll move on. Here's a type of health here at the cores, and the wicks are going to match somewhere about right there, and they do match quite nicely closer to this area. So we're going to use this as a possible range. So I want to be still a little bit more bullish this crypto, with possibly being above here. Let's see. Am I really solidly above here? A little bit, but I'm getting a lot of down bars back into this range. And let me see, the volume's on decreased on both times of the move. I want to be careful shorting this because of this range here. Let's look at if there's a heavy selling movement at the top of these. Up bars on high volume, very low, very small spreads on high volume. And the move is into weakness. I wouldn't trust just buying this health here just yet, not with this weakness revealing. Probably one more pullback is what you're going to need. The last event is going to possibly raise the let's give this a different color, about right there. Yeah, now I'm going to wick match that one, and this is going to paint the rest of the picture for me. Alright, this is going to raise the focus of my area back to here. So I'm going to be looking at this, and I'm not going to want to short this crypto based on the ranges here. We could still be bullish, okay? And this, based on this range, pulling back to this is still bullish. So there's still bullishness in this one. I don't really want to trade this down here, but I want it to get out of this area for it to be a real big breakout. And I'm just going to say we need to get out of this zone. So in my opinion, we need to be there. Looking at this more objectively or clearly, that's how I'm going to view the situation. All right, any other questions, comments, my thoughts regarding this crypto? Okay. I want to be out of this range, and I want to be out of this range, and I want to be out of the range on the bottom. All of that's going to tell me a story, and I'm looking to be above these blocks. So I want to be there. Okay, all of this is still holding on too much to price, and we're going to have to see where we're at, because we're just stuck in that no man's land. Alright, so for deep, we're going to hold off. If I get the bullish movement, I'm going to trade it up to 29 or 33. That's basically what I'd want to do with this, with something like this, based on the old flats and getting us higher. Okay, if weakness continues to appear in, then I'm going to be looking to trade this back down to the sword cut. Otherwise, again, I'm looking to get this higher. Okay. Alright, any other questions regarding my thoughts, opinions on this crypto here? Going once, deep. Going twice. You can take a screenshot if you like. Alright, let's go now to the next one, ZBCN. Melody, can you shorten that up, please? Thank you.
What's happened to my skin?
This is not bad. I'm drinking some mushroom with green superfoods, super greens thing. I like it. ZBEC Network is the next crypto we're looking at. ZBEC Network. It looks like I got it on KuCoin. All right. After the last challenge in April 2025, we broke into our health. Nice pullback into that area. Okay. Nice pullback right there. Strong volume on the breakout. Lower volume on the pullback. We move up. Here's the health. There's the sword cut. The next breakout we're looking for is a flat type. That's going to be the last event that happened. It's basically the larger event. It's a flat. We're going to place it on the higher energy center. It's there. You can see that we got our first rejection at that area. Quite nice. Then we pulled back again. The next big breakout is here. We're going to be looking for higher volume on that day specifically. And the date was about right there. So that's going to look like a nice big volume breakout on that day if you were looking right there, right above my head. Okay. There's effort, energy to push us into that area. And that's quite nice. No pullback into that area at all. Just the break. And then we move up to the DP projection, which should be the DP projection. Yep, the DP at 0.07, so that was already hit. And that's basically the distance of here to here. So HOPPY hitting its DP projection from April, looks like it was placed back in May, somewhere in May. Okay. And I'll just draw a few things. Health. Health. This is hit. And we're going to fade this away after it's done, but you guys can see these kinds of things happening in real time. Use these trend lines for you. A lot of times you can use them as just map guides for your whatever your existing trades are. And you can see important things happening in real time for whatever you're trading. Alright, so this is hit. I'm gonna fade some of these just away a little bit as to bring away some of that attention. We don't need this lower parabolic. Can delete that lower watch line. These words we're going to now fade away. This target on the board is still active from this larger move. Let's pull that up to the side. Then now we have a straight up line about like this. This is going to tell us where weakness is coming into this crypto. A larger weakness was in the background here. I don't know if you guys can see it. See that red thing? This was weakness that was coming into this crypto. Both happened. The weakness appeared. The sword cut was hit right there. We came down, came up to the sword cut, and weakness ensued. The next weakness after that is going to be underneath this parabolic. The health is here. The weakness underneath this is here in this area, and that was hit right here. Okay, so that weakness is going to trigger further down move to the next lower territory. So that's going to bring us lower in that sense. So that was nice. This was our lower target that was previously hit. Let's now fade away those letters. Fade away those letters. And now we'll focus on... This is the leveled up parabolic. It's white. Why is it white? It should be yellow. Okay. Alright, now let's delete some of these, or fade away some of these weaknesses. Don't really need them on the board. They're good for teaching, but right now I want to just examine. Today I'm not going to spend too much time teaching. We're going to just continue just hunting cryptos and using these. Now, is this parabolic really strong here? If it levels out, which all the parabolics do, then we'd level that out somewhere here. But I want to be objective. Should I be leveling out this parabolic right now? It probably is good on the smaller time frame. But I'm just going to hide all my lines real quick and give me some fresh eyes. Would I have leveled the parabolic here so much right now? Probably not. Probably not. I'll tell you why. Though I will tell you why this is still important. Okay. I'm dealing with two different shapes here, so let's bear with me just a moment. One of the shapes is downward like that. You can tell because the bottoms. The other shape is going to be very curved like this, like where we would have initially got that parabolic leveling out somewhere here. So we actually have two different shapes. So we're still looking at sword cut range, and we're looking at breakouts here. So any bullish movements here would leave us looking at something like up there and up here for those healths, and down here for the weaknesses. That's how we might probably want to read this type of thing. But it's basically two different types of flows that are going on. Let's now reconcile those two thoughts for just what's needed right now. Let's clean up this. This is a smaller sword cut. This is a smaller sword cut. And both of this one is based on this one in white. This up move in white cut here. This one right here, this smaller accelerated watch line. Actually, this is not something I'm going to put a lot of effort into. This is more of a phantom based on the top. Okay. So we'll just fade that away. This word watch line is based on this. So let's move that to the left because it's confusing me. Go ahead. Alright, let's fade away some of these. I'm cleaning up my chart slowly by slowly. We had an upper target. Would that count as hit? No. But it is now. Okay, this is another target here. So that's going to be hit now. So we can just fade that one away as well. So therefore we would be looking for more health above that area. And then I'm going to fade this away. And fade this away. So those two we're going to fade away. Good. Alright. Now, since we're here at this bottom, we're accelerating now at the top. We don't need this one as well. I'm keeping it on lightly to show my work. But I do need to borrow or use a line that I'm going to use to connect for the new accelerate. Let's use this one right there in white. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it from this bottom up there. But before I use this directly this bottom, it's just two bars that are back to back. Okay, and I'm going to use this bullish engulfing bar, but I want to check the bottom by moving to a higher time frame to verify if it's not just a wick or something like that. See how it's just a wick on the weekly time frame? Let's go now to a 2-day chart. Is it the same? On the 2-day chart, it's closing here. On the 1-day chart, it's closing there. So I think I'll keep it on the daily and the 2-day. But if you see the weekly chart, it's actually just a lot more accelerated. So the line is actually, less accelerated. If I was drawing this on the weekly, I'd bring it up to about right there. Okay, so one is painted about that angle, and the other is going to be back down to about, I think it was right there. So they're going to be deviating. One's going to come up more sharper on the daily chart, and the other is going to be a little bit more muted. But when I have that muted line, I'm going to click it in place at the bottoms of these areas, and it looks like now, let's draw both of them. So the first one I'll draw really thick, and I'm going to give it this keyword. I'll put, the word I'm going to use is weekly, and ka.weekly, key angle.weekly. Alright, let's put that in the middle, and I'll bring up the text opacity. Okay, and then the other one, and by the way, let's put it at the bottom too. Good. And the other one will be for the daily chart. So let's put that back on. So now we're going to have both of them giving us quite an interesting cushion. But we're going to need two different colors. So let's use ice blue for this one. And make sure that says ka.daily. When in doubt, draw both ways. Alright, so now we're left with something that looks like this. The daily chart in this color, and the weekly one in white. So we're left with two different colors. Make sense? Both of them are going to converge somewhere here, so they can give us this help. But later in the future, they start deviating. It's not as important right now. I think we had an example on Saturday that looked just similar like that. But it's good to know where they are, because sometimes those lines really do spread apart, and then you'll see two different bounces on many of those lines reacting in the future. But as we examine this bottom, it's good to always double check your work. If you ever see these just like really the energy centers that are just really sharp peakish, look closely to see where the real root is. In this case, it's going to be somewhere in that region where we drew the weekly chart. Now when I go back to the weekly chart, I don't want to see this daily chart. So I'm going to click on the daily chart line, that light blue one, and I'm going to go to my settings. Let's put that back. Go to my settings. I'm going to click visibility, the three dots right there, and I'm going to click visibility on intervals, current interval, and below. And that means that this line, when I go to my weekly chart, is going to disappear. So I don't see that blue line. All I see is the meaty stuff on the higher time frames. And that's good enough for me. All right. Now this target, since the target of the DP was already hit, there's not a super strong financial incentive generally to hit the target again. But if there is still a lot of high volume on that up bar without a lot of, and we're still in health, we could be looking for another challenge. If we challenge on higher volume than area number 1, we're sometimes going to break through or look to challenge again if there's any kind of pullbacks. So you can see the very ultra high volume on that up bar right there, right? Sometimes if that moves into weakness, it's going to denote selling that is happening. But this is a very sharp move, and there's very little weakness before coming back up into that area. So for us to be challenging that, if I'm gonna be a betting man, I'm gonna be looking for moves back up to that region on ZBCN. Okay, I'm gonna be looking for that, and then I'm really going to be looking only for weaknesses after we get past those ranges, which is going to be down here. Okay, along this track. So this one is I'm not looking for this one to fall greatly or anything. I'm looking for this one to hold on to and put up a fight, and it's probably going to continue doing well. All right, that's going to be my thoughts and opinions regarding this crypto. I'd probably want to hold on to it, and then let's talk about how high we could be going, and let's talk about that accelerant one more time, just a little bit more in depth. Let's put some prices on the board. Current price for this crypto is 0.005. We may be looking to get to 0.015 based on the up move itself. Okay, here, that's where we're looking next. It's very possible we'll be doing that, which is quite nice, because that's a good amount of percent. I'm going to duplicate this top angle. It should be the same as this one. It is the same. Good. Okay, so now that I've duplicated, I'm going to add this word. This is going to be phantom. Okay. So now it looks like we're dealing with a larger range, and we can extract some areas from here. Step up should be in this range. Oops. So now if this is going to be a mid phantom, the halfway point, I'm going to make it white now. And I'll draw the step up and say that this is a very good spot for this crypto. So I like where this crypto's sitting. I like that it's sitting above this step up here, right there, in that, right there on top of that range. Hey, why does that keep doing that? All right. Yeah, I like that it's sitting right on top of there. I really like that. The last step up previous to that, oh, I'm sorry, the next step up from this area is going to be here in this range. So let's pull back price in front. I'm going to click on price, visual order, bring to front, and we'll use these two areas next as stepping stones. And let me get you that price so you guys can have it. And so now we're left with an updated map with supports at 0.0042. Nope. 0041 to 0.0037. And I'm going to move the weakness down since we got this nice cushion. I'll just click it in place about right there. All right. Okay, let's go back down to that 2-day chart. I like the higher volume on this up move as we're getting past all of that sludge areas we were talking about earlier. That this area was in. Let me show you the image. That we have all of this conflicting energy, as it were. So remember, here was our earlier image of ZBCN. We have to get past all of this area right there. And now that we're past all of the stuff that was happening in this area, I like that it's on higher volume. That's a good thing, especially as we're getting closer back to our targets. So now if I'm going to be looking to see if this do any further, if I'm going to see it do any further health, I want to see it above here. And now let's bring back these numbers so you can see the numbers. DP is 0.700700060. I want to be above there now. It was already hit previously. So then we can start talking about those higher numbers. The money that's possibly on the table from this move to here is 23%, but a move up to there is closer to the 188%. So that's on the board, and based on the key angle that's matching, this white one is matching the pink one that we measured based on this angle already. It's matching the supports we get on the weekly chart. So it's exactly where it should be. So if we wanted to give this white a label, since this one actually came first, we would actually reverse the labels if we were given it labels. So this would be KA, and then this one down here would be the phantom, and that's giving us verification. So this would be the PA. Good. Because that will bother me later on. I'll be like, that's the phantom. In other words, this one came first, and I'll move on. This one came first, and then we placed it here. This is our source point. This is our secondary point. This is the next source point we're going to place it on, and this is verification along that track. Okay, so we're supposed to bounce here, or weakness is supposed to be revealed in those ranges. In this case, it's a health. We're bouncing, we're going up. So, praise God. This is a good thing. I like ZBCN. I would hold on to it. All right, any other questions, my thoughts regarding this? Can we have target system on ZBCN? No, we cannot.
Isn't that targets?
The reason we cannot is because we're all, you can, but the reason we don't want to is because when we measure from here to here, you're dealing with crumbs right here. You're dealing with the ends. We already got the bulk of them in the way, and the other one that we did was previously, should be that one right there, and that was already hit, as I pointed out. That one right there, see, in green. But I'll do it again. But it's not going to give you any, it shouldn't give you anything. Because there's no more room. It's like you're already at the top almost. See? Based on this measurement, okay, we measure from here to here. After those days, you're supposed to hit here, which we did, and you got to hit here, and we did. And also here. So we came down, bounced up a bit, then came back down to hit the other target, and then we came up and hit this target. So all three targets are hit. There's nothing else. That's why we can't do it. All right. Any other questions? All right. No problem. All right. So now we're just checking this on the up move. If all you were doing was hunting those up moves, you're in a type of health. And we want to try to break now here above there to get the next target. All right. Let's move on. I think that's all we needed to do here for this one. I like it. It's taking off. Let's go to Brett. See what I got here for Brett. Brett had weaknesses appear in January 2025. I mentioned November. This list is bullish, dangerous because of lack of future supply check. Okay, so we're looking for this to challenge one more time to the lower side. When did we hit here? We did already. So that was back in January. We challenged already to that lower side, so that's complete. Now the check is passed as the volume appears to be drying up significantly on the down move. This indicates lower prices are unlikely and bullish prices are more likely. In addition, prices at the top type of bottom support flat area on the weekly charts. Now that's left is, oops, you guys can't see. Now this left is price to break above the recent watch line. Current dynamic negative 10 cents to 7 cents. Okay, so that happened as well. Okay, so price broke above this watch line. Price hit those lower numbers January 19th. It hit January 19th. We're looking for it to come lower. It happened. Okay, so this played out, seemed to be just like this. It's kind of nice. So here's about January, where we're talking about this event. Okay, Jan 19th. This is the lower challenge that we hit, drawing up significantly. Bullish prices we're looking for around 10 cents. Was it 0.10 at the time? Oh, maybe this was the support. No, that can't be right. Yeah. Oh, we were talking about this. The dynamic negative watch line. Based on that. Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good. That's already been... So the health now is here. And now we're going to break that into this a little bit more. So that's an older analysis. And now we can delete that. Okay. I'm longer term bullish. This was looking for prices to cool off too much supply. Dynamic positive 32. Okay, so we're looking. I'm going to look again at the supply. I like that we got a good push past this area on high volume. I really like that. See the down move right here? This down move? We're looking for the breakouts to be on purpose. We like pushing volume. And the high volume bar is right there, exactly where it should be. Look. Here. Pay attention. That bar is right there. That's what we look for. When we pulled back to a hammer, it's on low volume. That's a good thing. That means they're not interested in lower prices. Generally, when we start seeing this, we start seeing health or reversal in these areas. Now, price is, you're saying, well, price isn't below this, but look at the range of the sword cut. Somewhere here. Let's take a look to see if we can find some more support for these areas. Here's the watch line, the next watch line that we would want to be looking at. Somewhere here. And the next sword cut is going to be here. So let's see if we can spread out this range, because I don't want to be bearish if there's still a lot of bullishness in this crypto. And then we can start looking at this support and marking the top as well. Okay? Then we can start using the next health and decide if we should be looking bearish or bullish. And then I'm going to draw this one as well. Right there. Yeah, good. So those are going to be some things we're going to look at for this crypto. All right. First, let's clean up a bit. I'm not going to worry about the buying that's in the middle right now. We'll borrow these. Let's go to a weekly chart. Okay, let's update all of this. Yeah, this gives us a lot. This sword cut should be adjusted lower. For this candle, where the candle cuts through those lines, and this line should be accurate on the weekly chart, and I'll just give that a weekly. The watch line, okay. That's the range we draw the sword cut, where the candle cuts in and out. That makes sense? I think that's how I draw those. Or that's how we're supposed to draw sword cuts. Let's change this color. Yep. This is an example of how we want to draw a standard sword cut. Okay. So if I'm breaking below here, there's not much power in this one. In that sword cut, only a small bounce. And then we lose power by coming through. Price bounces from here for another reason, and I want to see if we can stretch out the range of support. Now, if I have a flat that is here, and I'm sticking down here, my cores are matching this area of the wicks here. So we may actually be looking at a very large type of flat that is appearing. And that we can use to our advantage, and that's going to solve the equation on top, and I'll tell you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to stretch this flat out right quick, like this, okay, preemptively. And again, the reason I'm really doing that, we're going to stretch it out to 0.0347 to 0.0243. The reason I'm stretching that out It's number one, in the initial area, I got a very large wicks. Look at these wicks. They're way down here. Okay. Wick. Let's give this a different color. Wick. And the meaty part, here's the cores. Okay. So then we come back down here to those lower wicks, right? But now it's a core. So these are actually connected. So this area here is still part of this range. You got it? Does that make sense? This is still acting like support. All right. Now, if the range is that wide for the flat, then when we duplicate the flat, we're duplicating that type of range. Okay? Sometimes the trading range is very large. That can keep you out of trouble. Now, if I bring this back on top, that means I'm going to stretch out this top one to match the range. So this one really should be stretched out about that distance, somewhere about here. And we'll start at the core there. Okay. So we'll do that in just a moment. And we might be looking at something like that. Okay. So again, if this is the range, we might be looking at this being the whole entire oscillation. And by oscillation, price playing back and forth. Okay? So if we really go up into the health, we might be looking to get back to those areas and using also those areas for the next health above. So we can use that to our advantage. Very wide range. I'm just going to write that down in some commentary off to the side. We're gonna incorporate a lot more ranges going forward in 7.0. Okay. All right. So core, wick, core, range. Okay. All right. Good. Let's do that now officially by just duplicating this. And we're going to place this on top and give ourselves that wiggle room, updating the number 0.2542 to 0.1780. So in this case, something new we're doing is we're projecting the range of these areas. And we're going to use that to our advantage and place the healths and weaknesses where they should go. So here's a weakness. Here's a health. Let's place our sword cuts intra-trend here. Where's my sword cut? Yep, there it is. Okay. This sword cut I'm going to place at 0.1197. 0.1097, and now I'm left with something like this. So the DP, so the mid phantom is still exactly where it should be, halfway between these two. All right, so that's really good. So now we have a flat key angle at those prices, and then our phantom key angle at those prices. All right. You're saying all that just to isolate the range? Yeah. Yes. Don't like it? I'm sorry. Trying my best. Okay. Now I'm going to put another health here above this track, like that, and the weakness here underneath this one. Okay. I think that's what I want to do here. Now I can go back down and I'll fix this last part. Okay. I'll need that target, sword cut, fade that one away. This target is still on the board, so let's move that up. And then I'm going to now take a trend line, account for the smaller energy centers from here to here, and we'll read it as such. Smaller weakness appearing underneath there, larger health still possibly appearing here, and then I want to read some momentum. Okay, who's winning the battle? Strong volume on the, before we read the RSI, the momentum, relative strength index, I want to read the volume here at these bottoms compared to here. We still have a lot of volume. There's still incentive to come back down, but when we did come back down to that range, now that we've identified it as a range, there was still aggregately high volume here. So that's not super bad. It's not incentive to give us lower prices, but it's just something to be aware of. Okay, this is still aggregately high. So here's the first volume for that area, second volume for that area, not that one, that's part of the push, which was great. It's this volume here. So this is going to be a decrease, slight decrease, but it's still relatively high, aggregately high. And this one is still has some highness to it, aggregately high. So those ones we're going to say to ourselves, there's still some volume here, but not super incentive to come down. So I don't think we're really going to be going down to lower prices. Now of the tops, I am going to look at that and say to myself, I want to see a breakout with a push on higher volume. I want to see some push on higher volume into that area, and then we'll look to start trading up to 10 cents. Current price 0.4. Man, that can do really well for this crypto, Brett. That can do very well. I also want to look now at the RSI, and I want to see those pullbacks on the indicator. Wow. Wow. Okay, I'm going to hide my lines here so I can draw on this. Wow. Yeah, this is interesting. This is really good for Brett. Okay, I'm going to use this on a 2-day chart. All right, if you haven't been paying attention, this next section we're going to look at RSI. And you're going to know what I have to say about this crypto. If we're measuring the movements based on the flow of price, I like this and this, okay? The move up from here to the low up here, or even just to here, but we'll just say it's here, okay? The first up move. The pullback from here back to the top and the pullback down is more than 100%, okay? If this is 1 and this is 100, and that's about 50, we pulled back first 50, then we came back up to 100, came back down lower than 100. So that's good that we pulled back to that area. Now we're going to use this area to measure it on price. And we're going to measure this pullback now, but look at the RSI. It also pulled back much greater in both places. The first pullback here and here, when price only pulled back about 50, RSI pulled back all the way down past 100. Here, it pulled past 100. So in this case, proportionally, there's a lot of up momentum that was still in this crypto, and it went up. Now that we pulled back again, I don't want to see this weakening by RSI just coming higher. This pulled back, but RSI is keeping in step. And that's a really good thing. Now this pulled back, but let's now look at the proportion of the next pullback. Price pulled back approximately from here to here. Okay. And we're going to say again, this is 100%. And the pullback being all the way, maybe an extra 20. Let's see, what proportion is this? About, if that's 50, that's about 25%. Okay, 25%, good. Now the disparity is that the indicator has fired, pay attention, the indicator has fired almost 60% more. How do I know that? Because the pullback down is all the way down here. Comparatively, look at the measured move. Not even 60%. That's what's maybe 70%, 75, 80% maybe even. We didn't just pull back a little bit on RSI. We didn't come to here. And because if that's about 50%, that's 25, then I would measure that. And that's the percentage I would take down. It would be about that far down. That's about 25%. But here, the RSI pulls back way farther, closer to about negative 60%, maybe 60 to 70%. Okay. That's huge, which means there's still a lot of bullish momentum in this crypto. That's what that means. Okay. There's still a lot of bullish momentum. A lot of bullish momentum. On Saturday, I started teaching these micro proportions on RSI because we've used the pullback method for a few years, and we have a specific lesson on it, right? It's called RSI pullbacks. That's the way I trade this one when I use this. But this year, I started teaching you guys something new about the proportions, and we're going to continue doing that more and more. On Saturday, I was teaching you guys a lot of that. On Monday? Was it Monday? Huh? On Monday, I really was slowing it down, these momentum. So I really like to read this. Now you can read these for tops and bottoms to see, because the one that pulls back more is the one that's going to be firing price. So now if we're reading some of the bearish things about this crypto, this top to this top, when we read that in context, this one is the one that pulls back, and this one did not. This one was slightly under. So the one that pulls back is always going to be the one that's going to fire the other. In this case, if the price pulls back, it's going to fire the indicator down. So this one, the indicator resets. But when the indicator reset, it really pulled back, and it brought us, when we moved back into health, it's a strong move into health. We can still see there's a lot of momentum on this. Now the next one we're going to be looking at is this one's right here. These last two. All right. So let's finish looking at these last two. In this case, the indicator is not ready. So we don't have a strong pullback at the second time around. What I mean by that is if I'm looking at this as area 1 and area number 2, then what we're looking at is this is not pulled back. Price pulled back about the indicator pulled back about 50%, and price has pulled back maybe about 60%. So in this case, we'd actually be looking at this to come back down. There's not a lot of oomph in this last move recently. So overall, there's still some move, but not a lot of oomph left in this smaller move. And I'll put that down here. Overall, bullish momentum, but in last smaller move, not much. Okay, which means it's normal for us to be coming back down to play. Maybe we're going to play here. Now, I will tell you a likely scenario would be like this. We would be playing, a likely scenario would be like this. If we come back down here and the RSI momentum is pulled back further, then we would be looking at a very large move. Otherwise, if we come back only a little bit, that would be even better. Okay, this would be like that, and this pulls back a lot of it. That would be very bullish. This would equal bullish. Possible scenario. Okay, so that's how we would be looking for something like that. We would be looking at, if we had a pullback here, and this was really pulled back, and the move comes into health, that'd be perfect. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that. Otherwise, overall, long term, I'm still bullish on this. All right, let's move on to another crypto. Let's go to CFG. Let's see what this thing's got going for us. Let's pull it up on MEXC and see. Oh, is it fairly new? It is. I think it is. Let's look it on KuCoin. Oh no. It must be new to MEXC. So we'll look it on KuCoin. Yeah. I'm going to make sure I add that to my watch list on KuCoin. CFG and USD. And I'm going to go to KuCoin, click the little plus button, and now it's added. Alright, here it is. Start on a weekly chart. Large round action. Beautiful. Oh, it looks like I might have done this one a while back when there was nothing. I was just drawing this. All we had was a weakness, and then little weaknesses underneath these prices. Important areas, and then another weakness here. Yeah. That's all they had back in the day. Now we got some stuff going on for this. All right. So let's clear the board. Okay, and then go back to that weekly chart. All right. Let's start with the more recent watch line. This is not the time to buy if you're gonna, because you may be buying at a top. This is never financial. I'm just being comedic purposes only. I would probably want to wait for this to clear here. Yeah, I think that's what I would be looking to do for this one. Let's take a look at the larger structures. I want to collect that bottom and that top. Let's give this a different color since it's a different angle. Alright. And then I want to check this top here. And I want to wick match that as well. It's going to give us a range of about right here. And what I'm doing is I'm matching these wicks to a clump of these wicks back here. And it's about right there. So we got a range. Although I don't like doing it, I want to do a lot of it for you. The rotated rectangle here. I don't rotate a rectangle because it's wonky. When you affect one side, you affect both. So you have to eyeball it just right and make sure it's in the middle. Somewhere there. Ideally, if we go up, we're going to have a lot of problems up here. So I want the health to really be above there. I'll get you some prices. 75 cents. And a breakout right now, 27 cents dynamic negative. That's going down. Let's continue stretching those out. The last weakness was a large parabolic. The last big weakness, large parabolic here. The sword cut's probably still going to be active in that area too. So that's another reason why I want to be above there. The range of the cut was it's pretty big. So I'll move this to current right now. Yeah. It's going to be very unwise to just buy right there. If we're going to buy, we need to buy either now or at a low, but not right there in that clump of stuff that's going to happen. Let's now highlight. I don't think flats are active. I will put on target system. Let's put on target system 2 from the beginning to make sure that there's no real missing targets. Shouldn't be. Okay, the first target was hit quite nicely and lovely. Very lovely. Nice. I really love our target system. It's beautiful. Oh no, actually this was missed. Good, still active. Okay, so this one's still active. This is good, we checked. I don't like to miss anything. Right there. So we can use that one. I'll give you the price for that. $1.44 if you're taking notes. $1.22. Okay, so it's a target you'll probably want to put on the board. We'll put this at the top. In the center, doesn't need to be bold. 144, 122. Okay. The next target, we're going to move from here to the next high. So we're measuring from here to here. And these targets are, I can't tell, so I'm just going to use this as, oh yeah, I can. It's going to be the bottom one. There's one. And the next one is going to be again at the top. Wow. Like I said, a lot of congestion here in this area. A lot of congestion up there. Gosh, you don't want to be trading it right there. It's probably going to be very volatile when it gets up to the sky right there. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be messing with that there. Make your decisions beforehand. That's why we love the map, right? The map is great because it lets you know a lot in advance what kind of things are what's the terrain like. That's why you guys show up here. That's why you pay me the big bucks of $18 a month for dive. And I appreciate your support for our ministry. Absolutely. Okay, the next move down is going to be from here to the lower side. Let's put those targets on the board. And we got some down here, which is right now where we're at. Okay, that's where we're at right now. And then we're going to have some more targets that are here. And again, right back there. Okay. We're just going to stretch out this one to where it's at. Yeah. So, a lot of congestion in this 1.75 area. A lot of congestion. Definitely multiple stuff going on there. Alright, that's going to be it for all the target system. Let's pull back price in front. Too many lines in front of price. Alright. We'll use those. And I think that's all I want to look at. Maybe the volume and momentum. Ooh, yummy. I like this. I like it. It's delicious. Look at this. This is a good one. Okay, so if this is our one, I'm keep doing it this slow till you guys get it. And here's our top, and just that's 100. The pullback is negative, maybe about 20%. That's about the distance. Okay, so about right there. So again, if that's about 50%, we're dealing with maybe about 20%. Okay, so if I put like negative 20, which is great as a starting point. But the RSI, we're going to want to see that pulled back even more. So now here is RSI from our bottom. And here's our top. Here's about 50%. So the pullback on here, we want to see it more than 20%. And it's about here. Let's see, about right there. Yeah. So let's see. And I like to see this greater. I like to see a good strong pullback, or at least in step, right? At the very least. We want it to also be pulled back. We don't want to see this a weak pullback on RSI. So this is about, it's almost the same percent. Here's 25, here's 20%. So it's 20%. At least it's good in step. And that's something good. When this is coming down and RSI is slowing down, generally we're going to see some smaller range trading. But when this is pulling back still, that's good. That's at least keeping in step with this. Okay. I'm going to write the word in step. Not super bullish, but it's ready. Okay. Now let's measure the tops. And although I won't spend too much time on it, you can easily see now from these tops here and here that price came down, but RSI pulled back really strong. So in this case, RSI is going to fire price downward because the one that pulls back is the one that fires the other. So in this case, RSI has the pullback. So it makes a lot of sense why we have down prices. Okay. We should have had a down movement, and we did. Okay. But when we came back here now, this last one, the RSI has reset, or RSI is keeping with here, and that's good for a momentum if we can have some health. But we don't have any health yet. So we need that, and then we'll go from there. Okay? So I'm going to be looking now for this to help give some push to it, but not so much. We're not looking for so much. Now, if I get one more pullback and RSI pulls back even more, that's going to be really good. But for right now, it's still okay. I thought it was different. When you look at it carefully, if you measure it, it's going to fix whatever you think you see. Not as delicious as I wanted it to be. All right, here we go. That's going to save that image. I like it's keeping in step at the very least. All right, do anybody have any other questions, my thoughts regarding this crypto CFG centrifuge? Okay, I don't want to buy it just yet. I want to let it break out. Then we'll take a look at the volume. Take a look at the candles. Take a look at if we get a pullback, and then we can start talking about getting up to those targets. But I would probably want to trade this up to those targets, and the money that's on the table, if we do get a breakout, is closer to closer to 132% conservative to that first area, and then up to all these targets up there closer to 229. So on average, it's around 166%. Okay, so a move from here to here is about 166%, but no health yet, so there's really nothing to do. This has not happened yet. Okay, we can still just as easily come down, but we need to be above there to break up, but it has not happened. Everybody got it? Understand? Okay. Another weakness would appear underneath there as well, but right now we're just pressing against there. Okay. Okay, let's finish up with THETA and HOPPY. Okay, THETA is a crypto we've done lots of times for a few years now. Let's see where we're at with THETA. All right, THETA has a weakness that entered the bar. Looks like I gave you guys a few weaknesses on here, but I highlighted this one. I don't like that one. I wrote down in April, THETA has not had its supply absorbed, and the event line is lower towards 29.26 cents, and that's a DP down here. In addition, heavy selling appeared at the top as revealed in moves into weakness with ultra high volume up bars. So we had ultra high volume up bars into weakness, which generally indicates selling. This indicates a strong opponent and strong selling. This is a cause for concern for any expected bullishness. With the most recent support underneath the event line and price reach the lower target, I would be more bearish THETA. However, I would not short just yet. I would rather build rather underneath the target, and this may indicate possible short at 69-cent area. Okay, so we wanted to build underneath that area. Looks like we got to all the way down to 54, and here's the 69 area right there underneath this target. We didn't really build underneath the target. All we did was just hit the target. So yeah, that one's already hit. Now let's go down a little bit further. I can delete this one and that one. We're going to stretch out. This is an unused target, unused sword cut, so we're just going to keep it off to the side at $12.83 to 10.08. Triple J $7, $15, $17.20, $30, $100, $110. Because it has been sleeping, it will be swift move. Watch $10 range. Okay, so we're still pay attention to those. I don't have a date for that. We're just gonna put this was 2025. Okay, put that off to the side. Now we are at a multi-touch flat now. This may be a flat area, and I want to do what I was doing earlier today, making sure I'm drawing these ranges more properly. Let's borrow this one, make it blue, and the flat is on top as well, and we'll keep that range, which seems to be about the range where this is at anyway. Okay, that target was hit, so we'll delete that text and fade away this and move that backwards just to the range where it was hit already. Okay, this target has not been hit. it appears. And why do I have something here in yellow? That's a yellow parabolic. Okay. This was an old sword cut. Oh, that was a sword cut of some type. And price bounced on that sword cut. That's going to be from here, I believe. Okay, we bounced on sword cut, came back down. Now we're underneath sword cut. So I'm going to fade away sword cut. And delete the number. I don't really need that in our way. Alright. Let's get a more better look at theta. These numbers are going to come down for the season here. $14, $18 up into the sky. I'm going to delete this one. Okay, let's range out this. This key angle appears to be very active. Okay. When I bring it up to the top and we wick match it, which is probably something we didn't do on this chart before, but if I'm wick matching it to this wick right there above my head, right where I'm pointing, and I bring it across the field, there's this wick is still matching. You understand? So we're dealing with a range. So is this really a breakout here? No. And we're going to fix a lot of our key angles going forward by drawing a lot of wick matches as ranges. Okay. Just going to keep you out of trouble. I want you to get in the habit of doing that. In Sword Method 7.0, yes, the lines are correct, but we need to give the wiggle room because we have traders that are in those ranges that are of the exact emotions you guys are looking for. So the emotions that make up those trends, we need to account for some of those, and we can simply fix the issue by drawing ranges. All right. Okay, so I really still want to break out here, but even if I'm breaking out here and I'm hitting this flat, that's going to be a lot of stuff. So now there's actually two. See how they deviate? One was going just straight, and it's coming down. That's going to put another health in this field, but now it's tradable. Before they're all together as a vortex. Here, they're not. Here we can deal with them as simply two separate issues. Now I need to concede that this one's still a vortex based on this upper area and this target and maybe a leveled out parabolic in yellow. But if we can clear it and get above there, then we can trade up to that flat again. Otherwise, the flat's now its own horse, and we can deal with it at its time up there. But because of all of the stuff and prices on the underside of here, we're going to be looking at that as a roof. So price now will come up here as a roof, but if it can break up, then we have a chance to come back up here again. Now eventually this red line will meet with those again, and if price is on the underside, then we're still going to be looking to come down. Okay. But as it is, I think a simple plotting of health may be looking something like this, health and weakness. And we would draw a board that looks something like this. I think this one makes more sense. Okay. I have a DP that was never hit on the bottom side. I wonder how important that was. We've adjusted this flat, so I don't know if this DP is so important anymore. I don't really think it's that important. I don't have that original calculation. It looks like I might have deleted it. But at the moment...
Did you do a target analysis?
Did I do a target on the top? Yeah, I did. Let me check to see if there's any more targets here that I might have missed for this Theta crypto. And nope, just all the targets on top side. And then everything else, there won't be targets because we're already at the bottom. Okay. Alright, let me take a look for some stuff real quick. I didn't break into weakness on really strong volume, and that's good. That's good that gives us a chance for some kind of something higher. And we still have aggregately high volume at the top here, so I wouldn't put us past us to get back to $3.81 to $3.08. That's a very wide range, but I wouldn't put past theta to get back there because the aggregately high volume at these tops. There's still a lot of reason to trade up there. Are we going to trade up there anytime soon? I don't think so. I didn't see a strong push into the down bar on a negative area. Although the next up move was on high volume back down, that could indicate some sellers jumping ship at the sword cut that's right there. And this last one too. Yeah, I'm not going to put a lot of weight on theta at the moment because of that. We'll have to examine it again. Yeah, if I'm going to be going up on up bars, we don't want ultra high bars on the top into weaknesses. We don't want to see that. And this one, it's very not good by being underneath that area. It should not be there with that in the background. It's basically just saying, hey, this high volume was selling. So otherwise we would move. Why would we move down and underneath in those weakness areas? We don't want to see that. We want to see high volumes with move to the right. In this case, it's into weakness, so we can view or view this as a type of weakness. All right. I'm gonna leave this alone since it's Wednesday. Not a huge momentum to the downside.
Triple J asked, do you see 55 cents?
No. The flat is that's where the flat is now, Triple J. 0.65 66.5 to 0.53 cents. That's basically the bottom. Coming back to the bottom is likely.
She said bench or birch. It's not bench.
It still has momentum to the top there though, and that's a good sign. And I like that. That is something I do about this, and I'll show you. This is something that Theta has going for it. All right. Here's my top. There's a pull. Here's 50%, right? That's about 50, right? Price pulled back maybe about 60%, maybe 55% to 60. But the RSI pulled back 100, and that is something good that goes for the RSI. Look at the pullback. That's bullish for this crypto still. That's very bullish. So there's still a lot of fight in Theta around that 55%, that 55 cent zone, Triple J. 55 cents to 65 cents. Is that what she said? Benchmark? Yeah, that seems about right. There's still a lot of bullish momentum in this. That's going to fire the crypto. So if we should be moving up, the only problem is we didn't move up here very strongly. There was still a lot of profit taking. So there was still a lot of profit taking that happened here, and that should knock us back down. But if we're going to find support, we should be looking here. Yeah, we should be looking here. Where's the big health going to come in though? It's going to be at the top. Yeah, I want to be there. I really want to be there. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get it yet. But if we can, if we're going to be buying Theta, I want to be paying closer to those prices. It's not time. I would think the RSI also needs to come down just a little more, and it'll equal 100 to keep in step with this pullback of about 100. This is 0. This is the move, and we pulled back to 0. This is RSI. The pullback is not yet there, so it's a weak pullback as it is. So I'm thinking we need to be down here for a little bit longer, let RSI cook a little bit more, and then to be 100, or even come back lower, and that'd be really good. That'd be very even more bullish. But I'm gonna say we need to wait for RSI. We need to wait for Theta. Yeah, I'm gonna say wait. But you want to pay probably that 55 cents if you're going to. Okay. Still too much too much people selling and dumping this at that prices. Yeah, look for us to get back to that number, Triple J, and then we'll see. Is that what, Triple J? Any other commentary you want to put on here? If you can pay 55 cents, that's fantastic. I'm going to set an alert for myself about that price, okay? For your comments. Okay. And then I'm going to put here Triple J July 28th. Oh. 29th? Melody? 30th. Okay. So my alert is created. THETA returning to support. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the last one, HOPPY. Hippie. Alright, this is a crypto. It had a health here. We moved up. We came back. We drew our watch line. We had a target on at this area. We came back and hit the target nicely. So that target was hit. This was hit quite nicely. Returned to the sword cut. Came underneath the sword cut. Further weakness ensued. There's another sword cut that is actually created now. Based on where we broke. It was there. Exactly there. Okay. This is why I really love our method. I really love our method.
Good job, Tony. Good job.
The art is fantastic. Alright, so that was hit. That's great. And then here's the sword cut, SC. And we hit here once, and we hit here twice. Now we need to examine what's going on here. I want to see if the volume's higher the second time around. We may be actually still looking that there's too much supply, so we'll be still looking to come up. If that's the case. Most likely. So let's take a look closely. And yeah, that's the case. Very high volume still on this up bar after the second challenge around. So there's still a lot of trading that's going on here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're still going to be looking for another health coming in. And after the DP was hit, we hit this DP based on this oscillation. So that's price playing back and forth between this area right here. We measured it. We should be coming down to this low. We came down to that low. That was really nice. Coming down to that low. But when we hit that low, we bounced up twice on that area, came up, and also on that angle. And then we came down, and then now we're not respecting it anymore. So we didn't really reject on the underside of here just yet. I almost wondering if we need to check on that on the higher time frame. If we look at a higher time frame, maybe we're rejecting still there. Let's look at some new things on this chart. Let's clear up this chart. And let's now look at some more practical things. I'll clear up some of these old. Man, we did pretty good at looking at this chart, huh? Alright. Let's see what's new for us. That sword cut has really been hit. Maybe. Maybe it's already hit. Okay, so let's draw some more things for this crypto. What might be needed for today. Let's start with a higher time frame. Interesting. Okay, I'm definitely thinking flat here. And I'm thinking that flat's here. But I don't know if it's right because the higher time frames need to match up. And they do. And that's only going to get me as far though as this range, about right there. So I'm thinking flats are not super dominant. But if they are, they're really wide ranges. Let's go back down to that weekly chart and a 2-day chart. And then let's take some of the momentum. Let's take some of the volume first. really high, strong volume on those initial movements when it was first bought. I like this though. Look at this. I like this. Look at this strong volume here. I love that on the down bars into health. There's professional buying that came into this crypto here at this range. Professional buying. We need to mark that on the chart. HOPPY. That's great. Okay. That's really good.
Just really quick.
Yeah.
Is it because when the price drop, a lot of absorption, lots of buying?
Yeah. We need to. That's the first thing that you really want on with cryptos that are being bought targeted by syndicate traders, professionals, large financial institutions. They'll buy like clockwork. When everybody else is selling, they'll buy clockwork. And if it's strong enough, the move will fall into health. We can track the down move and see if it comes into health, and that generally indicates buying, and then we mark the areas on where they're buying. So they're basically buying from all of that range, okay, from here on. So every time we come back into that range, now the next thing we want to see is that initial accumulation, or them buying piece by piece, we want to see it absorbed. So we want to see them controlling the supply, which means the next time it comes back down there, we want to see low volume. So we're going to do that in just a sec. But first, let's mark that initial buying to see if they're going to win. Professional buying identified. Okay, so now we got to see if they're going to win. Let me copy that. I'm going to make a down arrow, or I'm just going to put a text box for myself. I'll just leave it like that. That's fine. Okay. Right there. So now we're going to mark that. There's the health. Okay. That's good. Now, if they're not ready for prices to rise yet because they want to buy more and more, which they do a lot with XRP and other things like that, then they're going to let it come back down to the areas that they wanted to pay. So we know they wanted to pay those prices, all right? All right, so good. So we know they wanted to pay those prices, and there was not a strong push at this bar right there. So it just got too hot for them. They didn't cause this. They didn't really want that. Maybe some traders, but there's not a really strong push. See, the volume is really low. Okay, so they're not really looking for this to do on purpose. They're looking for it to cool down. Like it's getting too hot for them. So it cools down. Fine. Now that we're here again, we want to see absorption of prices. So the ones I always teach you guys about, those symbols I always draw for you. You guys remember this really well. The legend is the 5 symbols. 1 equals absorption of prices, and 1 set equals the lack of absorption of prices. Okay? The ones that equal absorption is when we see the volume going to be decreasing at the challenge areas. Oh, sorry, it's going to look like this. Decreasing, or no demand / aggregately low. Okay, so those are going to be those. No demand / aggregately low equal the supply is absorbed / or controlled. Okay, so we'll put a little C in the corner here. Oh. And the ones that tell us we're not absorbing is that the challenge areas we're seeing an increase in volume, we're seeing equal to volume, or still aggregately high. So those are the symbols. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or we should say 1, 2, 3 of those. Okay, but those are the 5 symbols. So once we're here, we identified the initial buying, the VZB. We did. We're back here again. So the challenge is 1. Oops. The challenge is going to be 1. The challenge is going to be 2. Here's 1, here's 2. Here's the initial buying. That's going to say 1, and now it's here. So the relationship between 1 and 2 is that of decrease. You guys see it? The symbol that wins is going to be decrease. Decrease at VZB. This indicates, and let's write it down here for you guys. This indicates supply is being not just bought, but also absorbed / controlled by the buyers. In other words, the buyers, professional buyers, must win to launch a success, must win to manipulate properly. Okay. Right now, all of you guys, I don't think anyone here is $1 million trader yet. One day you will be, and you'll be playing like this. But for right now, it's enough just to watch what they're doing, because that's how they're doing. So they're basically buying strategically, and they have to win. So in order for them to win, they have to absorb / control the prices. In other words, the buyers must win to manipulate properly. If not, then you're going to see lower prices. In this context, they are winning. Okay. If they're losing, then we're going to see lower prices. If they're winning, we're going to see higher prices. If it's sellers, if they're winning, we're going to see lower prices. If it was sellers, we'd be looking for, and they're losing, we'd be looking for higher prices. But selling, we're going to view on the top moves. Buying, we're going to be doing on the down moves. We really want accumulation in the background. So this is where we're starting to see them accumulating, and then we look to say, okay, are they winning? What's the relationship like? The relationship is they are absorbing the prices, the decrease. So this is where we put the symbol here, and we're going to say yes, they are absorbing / controlling. Okay? Anybody understand that? Does that make more sense? Okay, does that make sense? I'll make it full screen so you guys can have this. Okay, so they're winning. So this is good. This is where we start looking for health. Okay? So I'm going to put, now we're going to just draw the health we need to see. And simple as drawing the watch lines. Now what observation can we make about this watch line? If we draw it here as our source point, here's the secondary point, what do we observe about this watch line? And is it time to buy just yet? Okay. Is it time to buy just yet? What do we observe about this watch line? Nobody knows the answer? What what observations can we make about this?
Go put underneath.
Okay. Bridget says hasn't been broken. Hasn't been broken, yes. What else? Melody, do you know any? What do you notice about this line? Okay. If we drew,
it has 3 verifications.
Has 3 verifications. That's right. That's good. We have multiple verifications. First of all, the foundational area can be drawn and created, and that's a verification. Or if you're just using these larger energy centers, you can see that this pullback there is a verification. Who drew that? Was that you, Bridget? So we got really, depending on where we're drawing, we got multiple verifications going on. So this is really good for this crypto. So again, if this is our source point and this is our secondary point, those points will be verifications. So this is a very strong line. So we're going to draw, and you're going to want to wait for the breakout, and we want to see a strong volume into that breakout. All right. We want to see like the pushing volume. We want to see that the professionals are now behind the effort. They really want higher prices. But right now, The last breakout, as I showed you, they didn't want that. Down this small moon, the one we just looked at just a while ago, on the volume, I said there was no real big push. Yeah, it was that smaller one. They didn't want nothing. So now the larger one is in play. They may want that one. If at any time we lose the game, we're probably going to be looking to come down to there. Okay? But right now, I don't think that's actually going to be the case. If we are looking for support, we want to be looking to try to buy it back at this price, 0000 179 to 0.0000136. A very wide range, but that's the range. Okay, down there, that flat range right there. That's about what we want to pay if we're coming back down. And then we probably will. We can afford to. The big players, they certainly can afford to. And then from there, we'll DP this relationship. So basically, this distance, we're going to duplicate it up there in the sky, and that's where we might be looking at. Triple J heard back in December down to 12, hopping up. I hear the Lord saying bull run to 1 cent. 1 cent is really high in the sky. So it's possible we'll hit some of those numbers. But for right now, the map, let's measure this a little more properly. Okay. All right. And then I want to look at the momentum. I'm going to look at the volume. I'm sorry, the RSI. I want to see the pullback deeper on RSI to see if there's a lot of momentum for the season. If I don't see it right now in this up move by a deeper RSI, we're going to look to come back down more. And let's pull that up now. And I don't have it. Okay. So price is the likelihood that prices are falling are very likely. Okay. We know that because if price is pulling back 100%, right? That's 100. This is 50. That's 0, and that's 100. You can see we pulled back 100%. But RSI has only pulled back this far. RSI is not firing the indicator. It doesn't have a lot of momentum to push it. And we don't have that. It's all pulled back only 60%. Oh, we would expect a weak bounce. This equals weak bounce. Okay, and it did. It's a very weak bounce. Okay, it's not as strong as last time. We didn't get out. We only went about halfway. You can see that. So that's the weak bounce. So it's right, therefore, that prices come down. The other thing, when we combine that with the tops and we look at that resistance, we can see that there's not a super strong momentum for the downside either. Otherwise, the RSI would look higher, or at least keep in step. It'd be equal. In this case, it's a little bit higher percentage-wise, 75%, and this one's 50%. So yeah, there's some down momentum still on this. So it's right that it comes down. That's good. But we're not looking for a crash or anything like that. We're just looking to come back down to its support. So let me clear that up a bit. Come. Now I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to look at that volume on this move. Why is there super strong volume now starting again? It wasn't really on the up bar. That might have been retails. Why now on the down bars we're seeing high volume, but we're still coming down? What might that high volume be in this area? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? I gave you the answer earlier, but I just want to point it out. We're now looking at this really high volume on this down area here. No, we could be pushing. If I'm looking at maybe smaller, if I'm looking at smaller, there might be a push into the negative area, but maybe that's the case. So maybe there's some pushing right there. Let's take a look a little more carefully. Let's draw this as white.
You're buying it.
Okay. So we do got some high volume, not on the push bar, but afterwards. So this is more like sustaining volume, possibly sustaining. That could be.
Could it be parabolic index?
possible sustaining, which is a type of pushing volume to keep things low. Now, this is not to get us negative territory, but this is how the same way that you would view a commercial that spends money to make money. They spend money in hopes that they would get more customers. The reason I say that, my friends, is because of what I told you earlier. Remember, we identified professional buying already coming into this crypto. On the down bars, this is the prices where they ramped up all the way from here to here, the VZB. That's the prices they were willing to pay. Now that we went up, they don't like that yet. They weren't behind it yet. When it came down back to these areas into the smaller, well, let me show you back on the daily chart. That's probably better. Here's a 2-day chart. That's better. Okay. So remember, they were willing to pay all of these prices. So they love these prices, especially these final prices from here to here. They buy on the way down. If they buy too much, they'll drive price against themselves. So they have to buy into other people selling. According to Wyckoff and Gavin Holmes, Tom Williams, that's what they teach in their volume spread analysis courses. Here, they're very happy to start getting low prices again, especially into the weakness. So don't be surprised if we see some more volume ramping up here. We just want to see that for the most part, when we come back down, there's even lower or equal to volume to here. We really want this volume to be low by the time we get back here. But they're going to bring out all the people who are like, oh man, that's it, I'm out. And when they sell, they dump their holdings, and the big boys are saying, thank you. They want to buy as much as they can at these prices. Does that make sense? That's basically the goal for them. They're not even pushing it higher right now. They're like, oh, we want it to cool down because we want more. Okay, give me more. And they're going to buy and accumulate as much as they can. They're going to try and control the supply. So all that supply needs to come down, and the volume needs to come down. But for right now, don't be surprised if there's still high volume showing their secret intentions. They're buying, and they may buy all the way through this range. All right. Now we'll just pull up LUM. Let's see, did it move yet? Yes, it did. Here's a 2-day chart. Nice move with LUM. I really liked LUM. What was our previous? LUM is one that I identified professional buying on as well. Yeah, right here. LUM. I said LUM. Wow, this crypto appears to have moved into health many times, with the last health appearing now at these major prices near 142. The next major weakness is underneath 90 cents. This crypto appears also in the volume being professionally accumulated. I can see what appears to be major buying into health structures. This indicates buying. I look forward to seeing what happens with this crypto. I predict much higher prices. At the time, the price was 114. We were pulling back to these supports after an initial health. Okay, so I really liked this from July 19th. Okay, this was LUM previous. All right. Here's another look at LUM. We were looking at these watch lines coming into the health. I'm looking for around 297% growth. We're looking for moves possibly up to $6, $4, $6.47, sorry, $6.28, $4.67. Smaller moves up to $2 from here. A lot of professional buying. Lot of professional accumulation. See how we have the down moves into health? Fantastic. Here's another down move into health, but look at the volume ramping up on the down move. Remember, I teach you this. Professional buyers have to buy on down bars, down moves, and down trends. When you see it happening, provided it's not like XOR that had a mechanic where they can keep printing even if you bought already, they'll print more. Never buy a crypto like that. We're looking for this to do well. And it looks like it already moved up to what, 228. So anyone who had LUM, I hope you're doing well so far. That's the kind of moves you really want. Now the question is, was this a move on pushing volume? I don't know yet. We're going to look on that. So what I mean by that is in the same manner that we talked about HOPPY, professional buying identified. Okay. Okay. When we found professional buying coming in on HOPPY, the breakout did not have pushing volume, did it? Right? It didn't have any push. So what that means is that the professionals didn't want it to move up just yet. They wanted it to cool down. Okay, so when we see that, a break into health, they're still buying. So it's great that these guys are buying. Are they buying? But now, do they want the push? Do they want to move this into health and launch their campaign? Is now the time? If it's, then what we're going to see is this move that we were looking into health. We're going to see a lot of pushing volume on that bar generally. Okay, that means that if this has a higher volume, then that means they're ready to generally launch their campaign, and you probably won't see prices come back. Okay, I told everybody this past weekend we were really excited about LUM. Let's take a look. What do you think? What do you think, my friends? Okay, does it got the push? Let's go to maybe a daily chart even. It's a really strong push. I don't know. I think, in my opinion, maybe that's a push. It's got some high volume, but it could be some of that high volume maybe getting squashed. I would love to see if it's around those top bars. So I'm going to go all the way down to maybe a 4 hour just to isolate when it was crossing over to see where that volume is at. And that high volume bar is still on this one right there. So maybe that's it. And now that we get down to this more quadrant right there, it's that high volume. So I would say it's probably a push as we crossed over into health. So this was the initial bar right there. Okay. Possible push at crossover. So if they launch their campaign, once they already bought, if they're in position, when they're about to strike, you'll generally see them throw money at it to start it. And that's that bar right there. Okay? For LUM, that might have been that bar. It's unlikely that we get more, and we already got a pullback too. So that was about the last time you got to buy this at a really good, decent price. Okay? This indicates campaign may have started or has started. Okay, so if they start a campaign, then the buying campaign, I should say the campaign move. Yeah. Once they buy and they move into position, they're going to launch their attack, and basically all they have to do is just cross over into health, and if you see them involved in it, then that's all that really needs to happen. Okay. Unlike HOPPY, which the moved into health, they didn't want to participate. The volume was still really low, so they weren't behind it. Are we going to get another chance at LUM? I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get another chance. I don't think the weakness is going to... The health already appeared, as I told you guys, and you guys were already a nice pullback. But if you do, praise God. It's probably going to just continue doing right now. The next health, yeah, that's all I got for you guys for health. After that, maybe the health above this parabolic, the move down there, it's not a strong support here at $2.52. Maybe the mid phantom right here, $2.09, probably going to be the next entry area, but it's just more risky right now because you're really far away from we're now chasing the candle. So we're real far away from the last entry. So if you're going to buy LUM anyway, maybe there. Otherwise, you're already in profit. And you probably moved up now. What did we move up already? 122%. You probably doubled your money. Good job. All right. Good job. 120%. Wow. Smiley face, 122% gain. Good job. All right, if you took the LUM trade, good job for you guys. I hope you are blessed. We're going to try to find lots of such things. But the thing about LUM is because there's such professional accumulation, I'm going to be long term, as I told, I think, Bridget earlier, I'm going to be looking for longer term move for LUM. Okay? Remember, this type of buying, I'm going to update. This type of large professional accumulation indicates longer growth. Okay, the reason this is longer growth is because they throw a lot of money at it. They had the money to pay for a long time just entering. They're not just going to get out at a small move. Remember, the prices they're paying for this are these prices here. You can see where they ramped up. This is the price they paid for it. We're still basically there. You're telling me this is all they're in for? Think about it, my friends. Think about it. If you spent all your time paying these prices, is that really the transfer of wealth you're trying to get out of your investment? No, you're looking for, if you're buying this, you're looking for at least double your investment. We're looking to get up to the target up there. You know what I mean? $17. They're not looking for these to get out here, my friends. They're not looking for that. They're going to be looking to get to the $17 zone. So, if you have some LUM right now, or if you didn't buy it at $1, you may want to pay, you know, that right now it's what today's price, $2.20. You can pay $2.20. You're looking for it to get to closer to $17 to $13. Okay, that's really where we're looking to get to. Some of the targets in the sky. And you say, that can't happen. Remember, LUM was once trading at $95. So if you buy it at $1 and it goes back to 95, praise God. Is it going to go there? I think so. I think it's going to, I don't think it's going to go to $95. But we already identified large professional accumulation. Okay. I'm really going to be looking at that large target up in the sky. Okay, this started. All right. Anyone have any other questions? LUM. LUM going once. Okay, good. I hope you're doing well. Now let's go to XDC. XDC, very special for our community. Okay. Our initial health at 7 cents. The next breakout above the parabolic here, we moved up, pulled back. We should pull back on lower volume. We went up on higher volume. But then we had a smaller move into health. That's interesting. Are they still buying here at this price? Is there still accumulation happening? I think so. Strong support on this down bar. Oh, okay, that's part of the initial parabolic. Okay. I'm fine with that. Pull back down to here. This is one of the last entries for some good prices at this pullback. Was closer to 0.8 cents. So about 10 cents. We're not far away from that right now. And the targets on the board right now are closer to 12 cents and 10 cents. So 10 cents, one could argue maybe it was already hit already. But yeah, that's the next move that I'm expecting still. I'm still expecting bullishness. I've been bullish XDC for a while actually, but the next move in health has started. So here was a health at 7 cents. Here was another health at 6 cents based on this down move. Based on the phantom, the breakout, that was the 7 cents right there. The next health is this parabolic. That's the one I called a few days ago as well. The next health will be above here at 13 and 12 cents if we can get that. So yeah, those are basically where I'm at on this chart. It's a little bit complicated, but remember, we're in a longer term health. So this is a longer term uptrend. You hunt those down moves, and it's going to stack the odds in your favor. Sometimes the down moves a parabolic like this. Sometimes we trade at the sword cut like that. A very low wick always came down there just to hit that number. There's some strong manipulation in this crypto, but in the same way, it's a bullish type. Let's do something we haven't looked at. That's good. That's a good volume push right there into health. I like that. And then the next volume should be here. And that's a good push. So I like all of this. I like the high volume and they're on the correct bars here. I love it. So I'm happy with this. I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be real happy with this move for XDC. Okay. I'll just point these out and then we'll look at RSI because we didn't look at RSI last time. Pull back, push. This is one of the highest volumes we got into that healthy area. The next area would be push again, so this will be push 1, and that's going to be a high volume here, even higher than the last one, slightly. So that's going to be push 2, and then we're going to get high volume on a down bar that closes up near the highs, and that's going to be on higher volume. So that's going to be where there's going to be one more chance to buy again. More buying, and I like that. Okay, so a push, buy, pull back. This is the next pullback, by the way. I should write that down. Pull back 2, pull back 1, pull back 2, more buying, and I love it. Okay, not as much potential as something like Lump, but XDCs are really wonderful in that sense. Okay, let's look at the volume. Let's look at the RSI because we didn't look at RSI on this. So let's go to first a weekly chart. I'm gonna hide my lines and let's see if there's anything that's really sticking out to me. Wow. Look at this, guys. Remember, I was telling you about this one earlier. I'm going to show you the picture I was showing you earlier. Stick with me just a few more moments, and I hope you guys are learning things today when you see it more often. There was a crypto we looked at called HOPPY. Okay, earlier we were looking at HOPPY. Remember I told you about the professional buying coming in? When that buying comes in, generally it's bringing prices to stop in those areas. But when we see things like this, here's the THETA. Here's the look at THETA. Melody, use THETA as the example. Can you take that HOPPY part out? Thank you. When we looking at THETA earlier, I told you guys we moved up and pulled back 50%, maybe about 55%. But the RSI pulled back 100. In that area, it's generally enough to stop us or bring back down the initial buying or the accumulation or reaccumulation after it's a pullback into those areas. Look, and Triple J said 55 cents, and it just seems to be about right where we're supposed to be looking at anyway. This is the kind of RSI that gives us bullish momentum, still enough to hold up prices. This is another example on XDC. Let me show you what I mean. This is a live example of that. One that already happened. Here's the initial move on XDC. You can say here's 0. Here's the top. And we're going to say these two here. The move here is 100%. Okay, so here's about 50. Here's 100. Here's 0. The move back was negative maybe 25, which is great. But look how far price pulled back. Somebody give me a number for how far price pulled back, please. I just need to make sure you're understanding that. How far did price pull back? Maybe 40%. If we cut in half, here's 50. I would say probably even maybe less than 40. Maybe, but yeah. Here is going to be 25. So we're going to say maybe about 30%. Yeah, would you agree? 30%. So price only pulled back 30%. RSI pulled back here. So this indicates that the indicator is going to be the one that fires price, or the price will be the one that fires the indicator. The one that pulls back is the one that wins. So in this case, the indicator pulls back, so it's going to be the one that attacks price. So in this case, we're going to see a bullish momentum. When we came up and we came down, because if we weren't ready, we came back down to where? Here. This becomes a flat. It becomes support. We could have gone here. But because of all the momentum that was in this crypto, we come back down to there. Isn't that interesting? Why did we come back down to here? Because there was still a lot of bullish momentum. This was a bullish kick. Enough to get us started. Okay? So this is where some of that strong bullishness comes in. The move down next kept in step with price. This was down, so that was about neutral. This is up about there. This is up about there. That's still about neutral. Okay, it's just keeping in step. Not super bad, not super good. But I also like the next two moves. Going to be here and here. Still 100, but look at this price. It's slightly up. This one's slightly down. Flat still. There's still a lot of bullishness in this crypto. Okay? And it still hasn't left. So there's still bullishness in this crypto, and I really like it. I like that. This is a lot of fight to it. So we're going to continue to review the actual moves. Remember, the uptrend from the foundational area is actually still very bullish. We're still playing within this area. So we're going to keep hunting those down moves. When we see them, we're going to take those trades in kind. Okay? All right. That's all I wanted to say today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I'm excited about all the new developments in the market, where we're going. I think it has some strong potential, and everything we're looking at. USDT.D is still clearing its path to the downside. Still clearing its path. Look at all this downward momentum. It's great, guys. It's really great. Look at this. This is a down one, but look at, so this is pulled back maybe 100%, but look at this. This is pulled back maybe 110%. So there's still bearish momentum here. You know what I mean? There's still bearish momentum in that area. Okay, so that's good. We want to see that to be the case. Here's another indication that this is still bearish. Check out the top, guys. Check out the top. I'm gonna review one more from here to here. How far did price pull back? About 50%. Here's 50%. How far did the RSI pull back? Maybe about 90%. So this is a lot of bearish weight. So there should be a lot of down movement still fighting. When this goes down, your cryptos go up. This equals a bullish. This equals bullish market. Okay, very bullish still. So we want to be really careful shorting during these times, even if cryptos are weak, or a crypto may be weak. Be careful to short. You want to only be looking generally for buys, as long as this has downward movements. Okay, we're gonna take a look at that. Alrighty. Anyone have any other questions for me before I leave, my friends? I'll take my leave for today. Thank you, everybody. I love you. God bless you. Have a great day, and I'll see you on Saturday.